Home Services has been serving Utah since 1954, and they're the first to offer upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, they have a 100% satisfaction guarantee.
You know, Deb, with summer around the corner, it's the perfect time to get your air conditioner checked. Mountain Home Services has got you covered with top-notch AC services.
Absolutely. And let's not forget their expert electrical and plumbing services. Whether you need a quick repair or a major installation, their skilled technicians are ready to help.
You can find them online at mountainhomeservices.com or call the same easy-to-remember number, 801-543-2222.
And there's a special offer for our KSL listeners. So call now and ask about their KSL specials.
Don't wait. Keep your home running smoothly with Mountain Home Services. Call 801-543-2222 today. That's 801-543-2222.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Chuck McDowell here. If you were misled or lied to in any way when buying a timeshare, right now is your wake-up call. With the tariffs, economy tanking, and inflation rising, you might need to ask yourself this question. Is owning a timeshare a good idea? With all the economic uncertainty, you need to protect yourself and your family. Don't look back and say, if I'd have only got rid of that stupid timeshare they lied to me about. It's time to stop thinking about canceling your timeshare and finally get rid of it and be smart with your money. At Wesley Financial Group, we've saved 48,000 families an average of $65,000 in lifetime payments. Give us a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare permanently or you'll pay nothing.
Call Wesley for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-489-7733. 800-489-7733. 800-489-7733.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account with built-in benefits. Here's Ricky Meese.
We are back to a crash-free commute on the Valley freeways and our main secondaries. However, I am seeing some unusual slowing in Murray. It's at the ramp from eastbound I-215 South Belt to join southbound I-15. A bold new Madam Butterfly is downloading now, reimagined through a virtual reality lens where fantasy and heartbreak collide. Experience Madam Butterfly at Capitol Theater May 3rd through 11th. Madam Butterfly. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A 30% chance of rain today, but highs are expected to hit 72 degrees. Tomorrow, a 40% chance of rain, and the high dips a little bit to the upper 60s. Right now, it's mostly cloudy and 68 degrees. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, we're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
We're going to make a lot of money for our people. We'll be able to lower taxes substantially, and we're going to be proud of ourselves. They're not going to be a laughing stock got taken advantage of by virtually every country in the world.
President Trump this morning reaffirming his commitment to tariffs, saying they will be good for the United States. His comments coming after other remarks signaling a potential cooling in global trade wars. In fact, the president says tariffs on China will come down significantly, but they won't actually be 145%. Welcome to Inside Sources. I'm your host, Adam Gardner, here with Aaron Ryder. I am a lobbyist here in town, and Aaron is a very accomplished attorney here in Salt Lake City. Also happening today, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, speaking at the World Bank, saying that the U.S. is not pursuing a policy of isolationism, but that the administration is committed to balancing global trade. And I want to play a little clip from Bessent's speech here, where he's speaking at the World Bank in Washington, saying that the U.S. is not going to be an isolationist country.
America first does not mean America alone. To the contrary, it is a call for deeper collaboration and mutual respect among trade partners.
Now, Aaron, I got to ask you, when I listen to Scott Bessent say this resonates with me. This is that's what I believe that good policy is, good foreign policy is, not to go it alone, but to use like-minded allies in going after those that we perceive as our enemies. So does this comment by the secretary, does that surprise you?
No, because I do think that this is how Trump and his administration have been trying to frame this conversation. It's not about, well, I don't know that they've ever really gone so far as to say this isn't about isolationism. That part, I think he's very clearly trying to call out, probably amidst backlash on this. But Trump has been very clear that he's doing this because he's trying to rebalance global trade. And so Trump has never said, I'm pulling out of trade entirely and we're just going to go it alone. He's talked about global trade. But Adam, my question to you is, does it matter what they're saying if the end result kind of is the same thing?
And I feel like we've been down this road, Aaron. We talked about this with a guest from a professor from Utah State a couple of days ago on Inside Sources, where we've kind of seen this game before. We've seen this movie before. Mm-hmm. At the end of the Obama administration, after years of work with Pacific countries that were all involved in a negotiation, excuse me, with a treaty called the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Mm-hmm. It was designed to do exactly what Secretary Bessent is saying. It was all of the countries in Asia that were like-minded with the United States and wanted to trade with the United States, where we would set trade policy in the Pacific, and it would be all of us against China. And Obama contended, if we don't do this, then that creates a vacuum that China will fill. Mm-hmm. I think he's right.
Yes.
When the election was taking place in 2016, both Secretary Clinton and Donald Trump, as a candidate at the time, were vehemently opposed to TPP. Mm-hmm. Secretary Clinton helped negotiate a lot of it, but then came out against it because unions were against it. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of backed off, and then we kind of went it alone for a long time. We punished China with tariffs. I think that's a good thing. And not because it makes our country very rich. It was to punish China and to get companies to move out of China. We didn't say you have to move to the United States, but pick a better country. We don't want our supply chain going through China. We want it going through Vietnam, maybe Cambodia, maybe Mexico, maybe Canada. And that happened. It actually worked a little bit. Biden kept the same pressure on China as Trump did during his first term, and now we've kind of seen it go wildly out of whack, where it's this just bouncing back and forth, where nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen next.
Well, so, all right, let's listen to another comment from the Treasury Secretary, and I want to ask you a question about this.
By embracing a stronger leadership role, America First seeks to restore fairness to the international economic system.
All right, so Secretary Bessent is saying by embracing a stronger leadership role, and this is what I want to ask you about. With all the bouncing around and the back and forth, do you think this is positioning the United States of America to have a stronger leadership role in international trade discussions?
I don't know how we could have had a stronger role. We are the richest. We are the richest country in the history of the world.
Yeah.
Everyone has to do business with us. There's no option.
Right.
So even if we go crazy and say you have a 10% tariff, you have a 0% tariff, it's now 40%. I'm going to tax all of your wine just because I feel like it. This back and forth, it makes every country still have to come to the table because they still need our business because we are rich.
Well,
I don't think this changes some global balance by us taking the lead. I have not seen us leading.
Okay, interesting. How does this interact, though, with China? Because we're just talking about a vacuum. China didn't come to the table on these trade discussions. And now Trump is saying, well, okay. In fact, let's listen to what Trump has said about China and the tariffs in China.
I'm not going to say, I'm going to play hardball with China. I'm going to play hardball with you, President Xi. No. We're going to be very nice. They're going to be very nice. And we'll see what happens. But ultimately, they have to make a deal.
So now we're talking about, okay, we're not going to be at 145% tariffs. We're not going to be zero, but we're somewhere in the middle, and we don't know where that is. Does this create a vacuum? Because China is the country who could step up potentially and take a stronger leadership role globally. And they've been working hard at it for a long time. Does the back and forth of the United States, I mean, Chinese President Xi has been trying to court other countries to basically negotiate against the United States.
China is at an advantage. because China first of all, China needs our markets. They need our capital in their country. They need the U.S. dollar. So let's stipulate that right now. So we have a lot of leverage. But here's where they have an advantage. President Xi can just wait.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to respond to stockholders and shareholders. He is a dictator.
Yeah.
And China has to do what he says. Mm-hmm. So they're in an advantage there, and they have just been waiting. Now, it's different, the language that's used between how I'm not going to go and talk to President Xi and say that they're big and nasty. We're not going to do that. We're going to be super nice. But
your Trump impersonation was incredible, by the way.
But to Canada, he said, boy, Canada is the nastiest country. They're so nasty to deal with. And I'm like, who are we talking about here? You're bashing our enemies while saying, like, we're going to talk nice to each other to China, but that's not what we're doing to other countries, which is extremely frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
So China is just waiting, and instead of going to the table, they waited earlier, and then you saw Apple was exempted from all of the tariffs. Mm-hmm. So all of the big companies that will pay their high-wage jobs in the United States, we said you can stay in China and you won't be punished. Pharmaceuticals, all manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, you're totally exempted, so you'll be okay.
Yeah.
NVIDIA, if you're going to make our chips and you're using anything from China, you're exempted. So really we're punishing people that make clothes, backpacks, sneakers. That's who we're going after. Let's be very clear. Or mom-and-pop shops, online shops that are trying to source things from China. I think I could go on for a while.
Well, we are going to.
So next on Inside Sources, we're going to continue our conversation on the trade wars and a possible reprieve. So stay with us.
This is Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. Summer is coming and your family wants to enjoy water in an Arctic Spa all-weather pool. Some people call them swim spas, but we call them all-weather pools because it's like a swimming pool that you can use all year long. My family has a tradition of hanging out in our all-weather pool and watching the neighborhood fireworks on New Year's Eve. You can create that family fun time right now with an Arctic Spa all-weather pool in just 2 days for installation. All the fun without the hassle of pool maintenance. Add in our automatic saltwater system to make it even more comfortable and more convenient. With 8 different models with different jet packages and options, specifically designed for Utah's hot summers and cold winters, we have the perfect all-weather pool for you, no matter your budget. Come see the Arctic Spa all-weather pools at one of our Arctic Spa stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, or St. George, and online at arcticspasutah.com. Arctic Spas, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
In today's fast-paced economy, staying competitive means more than just experience. It means standing out with the right knowledge and skills. An MBA from BYU's top-ranked full-time or executive MBA program will give you that advantage. Whether you're looking to move up in your current career or pivot to something new, becoming a BYU MBA can give you the edge you need. You'll gain critical leadership skills, hands-on experience that will set you apart in today's rapidly evolving job market, and become part of an incomparable alumni network. The BYU MBA gives you a top-ranked education at the leading edge of business that's focused on principled leadership, all for an extraordinary value. Scholarship money is available to help you make your MBA goals a reality. Apply soon. Final application deadline is May 1st. Get ahead of the competition. Advance your skills and transform your career. Learn how you could become a BYU MBA. Visit mba.byu.edu.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-961-5544. 800-961-5544.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
No doubt about it, April weather can be totally unpredictable. What is absolutely predictable during the month of April is the great meal that awaits you at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. It's the change of the season. It's time to start anew, and making your reservation at either Hotel Park City or downtown Salt Lake City for Ruth's Chris Steakhouse will start your spring off on the perfect note. I love the fact that when your meal is served at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, it's served sizzling on a 500-degree plate. So each and every bite throughout the meal will taste absolutely perfect. Don't forget to always save room for dessert, but those side dishes are amazing. Whether it's asparagus, whether it's au gratin potatoes, the list goes on. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse prepares and serves your meal with perfection. Make reservations now. Hotel Park City and downtown Salt Lake City.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
Teens can get up to $200 with a Teen Learn and Earn account. Plus, continue earning rewards as they master the essentials of finance. More at cypresscu.com/teen.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. Don't miss Cold's new Season 3, where I look into the unsolved disappearance of Cherie Warren, a woman last seen leaving her job at a Salt Lake City office in 1985. Police cast suspicion on Cherie's estranged husband and boyfriend, but never made any arrests or recovered Cherie's remains. Find Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
All right, we are continuing with our conversation on trade here, Adam. With all the trade war back and forth, it's hard to keep up on the latest, but the president hinting at a substantial decrease in tariffs on China is a big deal and could lead to a major cooling of the global trade war. We're going to chat more about this, and in a minute here, we're going to be joined by a guest to talk more about this. But gosh, I'm thinking about where we were in our last segment and what we've been talking about. And I want to listen to a quick clip from the Treasury Secretary here talking about the IMF and the World Bank, because I want to ask you about this, Adam. Let's listen to this real quick.
The IMF and World Bank serve critical roles in the international system, and the Trump administration is eager to work with them so long as they can stay true to their missions. And under the status quo, they are falling short.
All right, so here's my question. I've heard criticism from Republicans for a long time on the IMF and the World Bank, and concerns that they are corrupt, they are not doing what the global economy needs them to do, and that they really should just be shuttered and shut down. Do you feel like this is in line with that, or is this, I mean, it's interesting that the Treasury Secretary is saying that they serve critical roles in the international system. I feel like that's a little bit of a departure from maybe where Republicans have been on these organizations.
Well, and you have the World Bank and the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. They've been around since, 1944, because there was this global kind of meltdown of the financial system. And so we need to keep it intact. So there's 190 countries that have quotas that they have to pay into to keep the world economically stable. So the IMF and the World Bank, they have to go into other countries and actually kind of keep them from failing. And that's really important. It's really important that there's economic stability across the entire world. I think sometimes they prop up governments that are less than reputable. So if you have a corrupt country that is stealing foreign aid and trying, I think a big example would be like Gaza. You have it stolen by the founders of Hamas, and hanging out in Qatar, and then you have the World Bank, the IMF. They come into some of these countries that are less than reputable. So I get why a lot of Republicans are against those organizations, but they lowered the global economic outlook, as Secretary Bessent said, due to the tariffs, and so now it shows that the United States kind of has to either let them keep that message going, or the United States has to get more involved in those two organizations to kind of make sure our point of view is handled.
Yeah. Well, we're joined now by Kelly Meyer, News Nation White House correspondent. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
You know, we're just sitting here talking about the IMF and the World Bank and Treasury Secretary Bessent's comments on those two organizations. Just before we move off from that topic, I'd be curious, do you have any thoughts on how the Trump administration moves forward in relation to the IMF and the World Bank when our tariffs are kind of all over the place right now?
Yeah, it was interesting to hear that discussion. I'm sure you were talking about Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent there today, just really touting the work of President Trump and applauding him, he said on the stage, for what he's doing in terms of really shaking up the world order when it comes to trade with our partners. He was saying that he came in and he's doing what other leaders couldn't do in terms of trying to say, okay, you pay your fair share, or let's reshape these deals. And then we see how this impacts the rest, like the World Bank and the IMF. But what we're watching here, too, is just what deals come about from this. You know, he put those 90-day pauses on the tariffs going across on countries around the world. What deals are made? What does this look like? Does this create a different kind of world order? And especially when it comes to China is a major focus. And Bessent saying today that China needs to, quote, change. But he also said the U.S. does too, and that they could rebalance things. So it's a really interesting time, and to see what kind of impact this administration and the push for tariffs has on the economy and the world economy.
Kelly, that was a great response. It kind of spawned this next thought. Did Secretary Bessent make it clear to what he wanted, or the United States wanted, the result of this shakeup to be? What's the final result? We talk about trade balances, reciprocal tariffs, but what do we actually want to see out of this global shakeup?
Yeah, I think what they want to see, at least as from what they've described it to us here at the White House, is fairly simple in the sense that they want to see it just be fair. They want to see other countries pay their fair share. And as what President Trump said to us just earlier today when he came out for this surprise impromptu press conference out on the North Lawn, that he feels, and he keeps saying this, that he feels that the U.S. has been taken advantage of, and they want to see this be restructured and have a rebalancing with all of these other world economies. So I think that is what the goal is. And now this is where the rubber meets the road in terms of what deals are being worked out and if they are really able to do that.
See, this is really interesting to me. I keep wondering, what is fair to President Trump? How is President Trump defining fair, especially when he's saying, okay, well, we're going to back off on the tariffs on China. They're not going to be 145%, but they're not going to be zero. Right. You know, do we even know kind of where we're going to land on China? Like, where do we go with this? And how, if you're a country like Vietnam or Cambodia or Canada, how do you come to the table with a president who seems to be all over the place on what he thinks might be fair?
Right. No, it's a good question. I mean, where do they land on these tariffs? And it also keeps changing. The goalpost seems to keep moving, especially when it comes to China. You know, it was 3 weeks ago when he announced these tariffs, then it was a week later when he announced the pause on all of the countries except for China. And now he's saying that, 145 is too high. It's going to be substantially lower, but it won't be zero. He says he's going to be nicer to China, but he did say that if China doesn't come to the table, the U.S. will set the deal themselves. So we don't know what that looks like. A lot of this is really being done behind the scenes. It sounds as though they want it to be equal. Does that look like for the president? Reciprocal tariffs? Does it look, you pay this, we pay that? And what does it come to with China? Because they're not seeing, at least the comments that we're hearing from Beijing right now, aren't the same thing that we're hearing from the White House in terms of let's be nice, let's make a deal. They're not seeing it that way. They see this as the U.S. threatening China and blackmailing China to make a deal.
I wonder, Kelly, with your experience in the White House and working for News Nation, one thing that I've noticed over the last few days that's been different than the last couple of weeks is Peter Navarro, who's very, very close to the president and has been kind of been the bug in the president's ear on these tariffs. I have not seen Peter Navarro front and center all over the news like I have in the past. But I have seen Secretary Bessent all over the news. Is the White House sending a message with that to calm markets by sending Secretary Bessent out there instead of Navarro and Lednick?
It's a good question. All these questions you guys have, actually, I'm supposed to go into the Oval Office in like an hour, and these are all great questions to pose to the president himself. Where is Peter Navarro? Why is he kind of behind the scenes and not so much out in the open like the Treasury Secretary is? What are the aides telling him behind the scenes when it comes to, for example, Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair, where President Trump's remarks lately have seemed to was a change of rhetoric for him, saying that he had no intention of firing him, even though just last week, even just 2 days ago, he was calling him a, quote, major loser and basically couldn't wait for his termination to come, or it couldn't come soon enough. His term is over next year. So it's interesting to see who they're putting out there, and it's a good question and something that definitely should be posed. Where is Peter Navarro? I mean, we would normally see him making the rounds at the tents here outside of the White House on Pebble Beach, and we haven't really. So what does that mean? Or is that part of the strategy to keep people behind the scenes as they're working on these deals? They want to keep those deals under wraps. The only person I really talk to a lot is Kevin Hassett, but he wouldn't say anything about China to me, and just told me that around 15 to 20 deals, or more than 15 deals, were on the table, but that was all we were able to get out of him.
Well, Kelly Meyer, News Nation White House correspondent, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, Adam, we may get our questions posed to the president. There you go.
Well, that was a fantastic discussion. I could go to another 2 hours with her. She was awesome.
I know. That was really great. When Inside Sources returns, it was never really planned to last forever, but we are now getting details on when Elon Musk will step away from Doge. We're going to discuss how Tesla's plummeting stock could be playing a factor in all the timing and all the pieces of this, coming up next.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shaleos. KSL's top story this hour. The current status of the Utah Fits All Scholarship will be decided today in court. Last week, a judge ruled that the school voucher program is unconstitutional because it uses income tax dollars reserved for public education to fund private school and homeschool education costs. Since that ruling, many families have been left in limbo, wondering what happens now to their scholarship money. There is a status hearing at 2 o'clock today to make that determination. Police have arrested more than a dozen people who are accused of enticing or exploiting children over the internet. Utah Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force Commander Sete Alwi says that they arrested 13 people suspected of committing crimes like this over the course of just 4 days.
It's unlike any type of crime. Being able to bring justice for these children, be a voice for them, that's a lot of satisfaction.
Sete Aule says none of the suspects were from out of state. They were all living between Davis, Salt Lake, Summit, Utah, and Weber counties. KSL's top national story this hour from ABC News. People from around the world are paying their respects to Pope Francis while his body lies in state at the Vatican. After the funeral, cardinals from around the world will decide on who will take his place. ABC's Patrick Reevell is at the Vatican.
We know that they will, as by tradition, be sequestered inside the Sistine Chapel. There will be 135 cardinal electors, and they will vote 4 times a day to decide until they reach a 2/3 majority on a candidate. And each time they have a ballot that's unsuccessful, we'll see the black smoke come out of the chimney over St. Peter's Square. When eventually they settle on a candidate, we will have the white smoke.
officials say they may have to extend viewing hours to accommodate all who are online to pay their respects. And taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is up by 381 points, losing a little bit of ground in the last half hour, right now sitting at 39,567. S&P up by 84 points. The NASDAQ up by 421. That's nearly 3%. Coming up, a bit of a change for the forecast. We'll take a look at that. Coming up next, KSL News Time, 1:33.
Are you looking to invest in your home, increase its livability, increase its value, increase its curb appeal? Well, doors and windows are a great place to start, and there's no better place to start than Peach Doors and Windows.
Maybe the purpose of your home has changed. Maybe you're an empty nester, or you just want to maximize the view of your home. Bring Peach your wish list. Think about out-of-the-box shapes and sizes. What you can imagine, Peach Doors and Windows can make happen. They can do renovations that other companies simply won't touch.
You can check out all of their 5-star reviews on Google, where customers rate Peach throughout every step of the process. From sales to installation, they will make sure you get exactly what you want. Check out their website at peachbuildingproducts.com. You can give them a call, 801-566-1255. They do free in-home estimates.
Or better yet, check them out in person, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake City. They're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, or check them out online, peachbuildingproducts.com.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
As a business owner looking to take your business to the next level, it's all about the right marketing. But what exactly is right for you? At KSL News Radio, we are ready to help you craft the perfect comprehensive strategy. Whether it's our powerful talent endorsements, engaging live interviews, creative production, live events, or our extensive digital platforms, we've got you covered with the right solution. Contact Stephanie Palmer today, spalmer@ksl.com, and let's grow your business together. Email spalmer@ksl.com.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account with built-in benefits. And here's Ricky Meese.
Debris on the road is causing delays and blocking traffic. This is east and westbound on I-80. Now, the debris is across the roadway in between Foothill and 2300 East, but you'll see those delays as you're approaching both directions. And then we've also heard from a KSL texter about a bus stuck in the westbound lanes on 126 South and 3600 West. You could likely see delays in that area as well. Also, a gas leak. We do have traffic affected 1700 South between 9th and 10th West. Create your floral sanctuary with Olson's Greenhouse, locally grown premium quality flowers to complement porches, patios, and containers. Don't miss Olson's Container Fest Saturday, April 26th at all Home Depots. Details at ogg.com. And of course, you can text us your traffic tips to 57500 on the KSL Mountain Home Services text line. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high today of 72 degrees, 20% chance of showers. Tomorrow, that chance of showers increasing to 40% and our high dropping down to 69 degrees. Mostly cloudy, 68 degrees. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Tesla stock has been in the toilet the past few months, circling the drain as it continues to fall. Yesterday, in their earnings call, the company acknowledged that, quote, political sentiment, end quote, likely played a role in the stock market fall. You think? Now, Elon Musk says he will take a step back from Doge and focus his attention on Tesla beginning next month. So, Aaron, I got to ask you, did you see this coming? Did you see him being able to balance being the CEO of 412 companies and also be able to restructure the entire federal government?
Well, obviously, who else would do it, Adam, if it weren't for Elon Musk?
Someone crazy, and he's crazy enough to do it.
He is. He definitely is. But no, this is nothing about this is a surprise.
Okay, so let's break it down a little bit. Tesla profits have plunged a staggering 71% in the first quarter of this year since CEO Elon Musk took a major role in the Trump administration. The company acknowledged, quote, political sentiment likely played a role. Before we play this clip, in a call with investors, Musk said he will soon be spending a lot more time focused on his businesses. I just want to say that inside sources, we've kind of unofficially, on every time we've done a segment on Doge or Elon Musk, one of the rotating hosts will say, you know what, I bet he's gone in June. I thought he would be gone in June. I said Trump is going to get tired of Elon Musk.
He was
going to
be the scapegoat. You bet.
And that just made sense. Vivek Ramaswamy made it, I think, negative 12 hours. Mm-hmm. He didn't even make it to
how
the
many
first day.
Was he?
Oh, yeah. and if you remember Scaramucci, I think he lasted, 2 weeks on the job or less, or 2 days on the job. And in the first Trump administration. And this is no surprise that Elon Musk, that this happened. Tesla has been tanking because of it. It is completely because this is because of political sentiment. And also, I don't like the fact that the left has used Tesla as their protest against the government. I think that hurts people. We've seen just a couple of days ago, there was a famous case, and now I can't find where it happened. I have to search social media again, but there was a gentleman that caused $20,000 in damage on a Tesla vehicle, and the cameras from Teslas record everything that's happening anytime there's movement around the vehicles. And the prosecutor, who was a liberal prosecutor, declined to prosecute this man. And so we're seeing that actual Tesla employees and vehicles used to protest the government, a fact that I just can't stand.
Well, and the riots at Tesla dealerships, which,
setting them on fire.
Right. And these are like dealerships that other people are running, right? Like it's hurting other people's
livelihood. It's not Elon.
livelihood.
Elon doesn't work there.
Right.
So it's like when you call a congressional office and you scream at the person answering the phone.
Right.
Sorry, that's not Mike Lee answering the phone. That's
right.
That's
and
a
that person
20-year-old
doesn't really
intern.
have a lot of say in what happens.
They don't have influence.
Yeah.
And so let's go into this call where Musk said he will soon be spending more time as a CEO.
Starting next month, I'll be allocating far more of my time to Tesla, and now that the major work of establishing the Department of Government Efficiency is done.
So, do you think that Doge continues? Because one of the things he said in here is now that the major work with establishing the Department of Government Efficiency is done, the major work with establishing the Department of Government Efficiency is done.
That's the key word.
Yeah. What happens to Doge when Elon Musk is gone? I think it falls apart.
I think it falls apart as well. What we've seen Doge do, I was super excited about Doge. Just I hate to kind of admit that.
The idea is
but the idea
not
is
a bad
awesome.
one.
I'm like,
yeah.
you guys, the system is so bad, it is so corrupt. You need to kind of blow it up. So I get that, and
having an independent body examine, look for areas of inefficiency and redundancy, I'm all for that.
The more we were looking into it, though, the more, and I recognize this from when I worked for Congress, there were independent inspectors general that were already doing this work, finding waste, fraud, and abuse. Those reports were public or they were sent to Congress. Mm-hmm. Congress could have codified those changes. They chose not to do it.
Yeah, that's the big thing for me, right, is that even with the work that Doge has done, Doge has gone in there and said, we're trying to make some changes. We're going to cut these programs. We're going to do this. And the courts have come out and said, you can't. That's Congress's job. So if we really want a Doge mentality, it has to come through Congress.
Exactly. I think that's what's been kind of missing from this discussion is he's also saying we found $155 billion in waste, fraud, and abuse in savings. So we've saved the government this much money. That's also, they said they were trying to save $1 trillion. That did not happen. But $155 billion, that's pretty awesome. I would love to see $155 billion in savings. The problem is the Congress of the United States, they passed a continuing resolution to keep Biden's spending levels the same. So we just passed Biden's spending levels into the first Trump administration, and we said we saved $155 billion. You did not.
Right.
We cut a lot of people. We stopped a lot of payments from going.
But then they had to come back.
A lot of them had to come back.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court's going to get the ultimate say on this. And the reason the Supreme Court is having the ultimate say on all these things is because Congress hasn't codified anything.
Yeah.
So if this is really working, Congress has a great opportunity this budget cycle to actually codify some of these cuts. What we're not seeing, though, especially from the United States Senate, is we're not seeing a codification of these cuts.
No.
We're actually seeing more spending.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let me ask you this question then. On Elon Musk, he did step away from his businesses to go do this because I think he cares very deeply about it and he wants to see change. He wants to see the United States stay great.
He's also an incredible narcissist. So this is a great
Well, I was going to ask you, is there
for
anything that, like, should he be getting credit for the fact that he was willing to sort of step away from his business ventures for a time to go and do this, recognizing that he was certainly going to be in the crosshairs for it? Or is he ultimately just a narcissist and this just fuels his narcissistic tendencies?
There are people that deserve credit for leaving and serving our country. I remember I've heard
Elon Musk is not one of them.
Well, because he did. What does step away mean? He was still the CEO of all these companies.
That's fair.
He was still working in the federal government, having an office next to the president of the United States, while running a company, SpaceX, that is getting billions of dollars in financing from the government.
And while Donald Trump is buying Teslas on the White House driveway,
he was getting free commercials, and there's still tax credits for every Tesla that you buy. So. No, I'm not going to give him a ton of credit. I think it was admirable that he tried, but he didn't. It's not like he stepped away to go and help. He wanted to have his cake and eat it too. So again, man, we're picking all these segments that I could talk forever on. Next on Inside Sources, the newest plan for a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine is facing a lot of flack around the world today, with many saying the plan is overtly favoring Russia. Why Vice President J.D. Vance says it's actually quite fair, coming up after the break.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Are they promising you up to 10% growth per year guaranteed for your retirement income? If not, you need a new financial advisor. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hard-working folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 up front or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't work when you're supposed to be retired. And if any financial advisor tells you it's too good to be true, they simply don't have the options we do. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account with built-in benefits. It's I-80 that's a mess right now. We have a load spill and the debris is affecting the road travel in both directions, and this is near 2300 East. Right now, if you're traveling eastbound, there are eastbound lanes blocked and a lot of traffic is being diverted over onto I-215's East Belt. If you're traveling westbound, no traffic getting through. They have stopped all traffic prior to 2300 East in order to clear this debris off the roadway. So anywhere from about 20th East to Foothill and into the mouth of Pardley's Canyon, we do have a mess on I-80. If this is a spot you can avoid, you want to do so. Again, westbound traffic I-80 completely stopped prior to 2300 East. Eastbound traffic being diverted off to I-215's East Belt. Wasatch Front businesses and property managers. GoPave Utah provides all asphalt repairs for your parking. For patching and paving along the Wasatch Front, contact GoPave Utah. GoPave Utah, GoPaveUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for University Housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
For over 22 years, speaking on business on KSL News Radio has been a beloved tradition, celebrating our heroic business leaders and Utah consumers who have helped build one of the strongest state economies in the nation. Now, under the stewardship of the Salt Lake Chamber and hosted by Chamber President and CEO Derek Miller, the program continues to shine a spotlight on those who make Utah's business environment dynamic and thriving. With his expertise and passion, Derek brings the stories of our business community to life. As part of the Salt Lake Chamber, Speaking on Business is proud to continue its legacy of highlighting inspiring stories, trends, and special guests. Support Utah businesses now and be part of Utah's thriving economy. More information can be found at slchamber.com. That's slchamber.com.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for University Housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-371-0505. 800-371-0505.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
The latest plan for a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine has been released. Critics say it's a terrible plan, giving much more sway to Russia than Ukraine. Vice President J.D. Vance, however, says the plan is very fair. It comes after Secretary of State Marco Rubio canceled plans to attend upcoming peace talks in London, leading to additional world leaders pulling out of the talks too. And President Trump continuing his attacks on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Adam, I just want to see how riled up you can get in this conversation. I mean,
this has just been one of those days. I feel like I'm getting a little too passionate here. I want to play a clip just to start us off, just to kind of give us some background. Where at the State Department press briefing yesterday, spokesman Tammy Bruce said that Secretary of State Marco Rubio would not be attending upcoming talks in London on Ukraine.
Secretary Rubio is a busy man. He is one of the most active, if not the most active, Secretary of State I think we've had. And that, of course, affects every day for him. And so when there's certain plans, they're, conditional. And in this particular instance, while the meetings in London are still occurring, he will not be attending.
Well, that's good. So the Secretary of State that's negotiating a peace won't actually be there to talk to all our allies about the peace because he's got other stuff going on.
Well, and here's my thing about this, too. Trump, from day one, said, I am going to go in and solve this crisis, solve this conflict, this war.
In how fast?
In like 24 hours.
24 hours.
I'm going to have this thing resolved overnight. So this has been a priority for Trump since the beginning of this second administration. It was something he campaigned on. I would think that the Secretary of State, let your Treasury Secretary and your trade folks handle all the trade stuff that's going on. What does the Secretary of State have to do right now that is more important than negotiating and brokering peace between Ukraine and Russia?
I would argue nothing. There's nothing more important than this. I think this is one of the moral tests of our time, is this war letting evil win with Russia and beating up on the little guys, Ukraine. I think the world is right to help Ukraine. I think if we give in to Russia, then what's to stop us from giving in when China invades Taiwan? Mm-hmm. They're already setting the stage to do that, and they've seen the United States crumble and fall to dictators. That's exactly what they're hoping for.
Especially with Trump backing off on trade with China, right? Going back to our earlier discussion and saying he's going to be very nice to the Chinese president. I think if I'm China, I'm just going to watch this right now. But there are those who say that this is very fair. Let's listen to Vice President J.D. Vance and his opinion on the proposal.
We've engaged in an extraordinary amount of diplomacy, of on-the-ground work. We've really tried to understand things from the perspective of both the Ukrainians and the Russians. What do Ukrainians care the most about? What do the Russians care the most about? And I think that we've put together a very fair proposal. We're going to see if the Europeans, the Russians, and the Ukrainians are ultimately able to get this thing over the finish line.
His proposal is not very fair at all, and I'll tell you why. First of all, one of the most important issues to Ukrainians, if you've ever spent any time in Ukraine, which I have, the Russians have kidnapped tens of thousands of Ukrainian children. They have relocated them to Russia to be raised by Russian parents. It's one of the ways they're repopulating. So they're committing genocide in the country of Ukraine. There's no plan to address where these children are. Not only that, but months ago, the United States said we're no longer going to track where these children are, even though we were helping the Ukrainians do that in the past. So that's done. There are also other huge issues. If the U.S. Let's back up a little bit. Basically, Russia gets everything they want except for Kiev. Mm-hmm. It handcuffs NATO. So it says that Ukraine can never join NATO. So the United States is saying that NATO can no longer admit them as a member. So you're tying the hands of NATO. And they also have to recognize Crimea. So the United States was recognized Crimea as Russian territory.
They'd basically draw the lines kind of where they are right now.
But Ukraine doesn't get to keep Russian land that they've gone into and conquered. So if you remember, a couple of years ago, they've been asking Biden, saying, hey, when are you going to let us go into Russia so they actually have to defend their homeland? Mm-hmm. We want to go in there. And Biden took so long. It was very annoying. But finally, he relented, and they were able to go into Russia and attack some military installations and attack power and infrastructure. But we remember there's been a couple of ceasefires that Russia has already agreed to since Donald Trump has become president.
Well, they've agreed to them, but they have not actually upheld them.
Bingo. One of them was a little more than a week ago on Passover.
Yeah.
You had 37 people that were killed walking to church, 17 children. So Russia murdered a bunch of kids, and the whole world condemned Russia for this attack. Did the United States? Did President Trump? No. He said, sometimes people make mistakes, and I'm sure they didn't mean to kill all those little kids. It was insane. I have no idea why we put up with this. And in fact, there was a UN resolution. The resolution condemned Russia for the attack. China didn't even vote for this thing.
I know.
China didn't vote for it. Here's who voted no on condemning this attack. Russia, Belarus, North Korea, Mali, Nicaragua, Niger, and Sudan, and the United States. We are on the side of the bad guys now.
Yeah, we're on the side of Sudan.
We're on the side of Sudan and Russia and Belarus and North Korea. What are we doing?
Yeah.
We used to be this beacon on this beacon on the hill, and someone that the rest of the world can look for to lead.
Well,
we're not leading anymore.
So here's the question though, Adam. Here's where the crux of this comes down. And how do you get Putin to the table to actually negotiate something without this turning into World War III? Because the absence of a negotiated deal is a potential World War III, right? Europe gets pulled into this. NATO gets pulled into this. Who knows what happens if this conflict or one of these countries
or we could just
fight
keep
it out.
funding, or we could just the world could keep financing Ukraine to fight the war themselves, what they've been doing for years.
Well, okay, true. But I guess my question is, what are the options here, right? You fund the Ukraine side of this and let the two of them fight it out until they come to their own resolution. But if you want to go the route of negotiation, somehow you have to get Putin to the table. And how do you get somebody like Vladimir Putin to the table if the only way he can walk away from this is if it makes him look extraordinarily good?
You've already gone to the table with him. You've already offered him a ton. He's already agreed to multiple things, and he's broken every single promise, just as he's done since 2014.
So you just don't trust him. It's just not an option.
I would trust him right at the beginning, but he has shown that he has broken every single commitment. I want to finish off by just saying that I've been speaking to some of my friends in the Ukrainian armed forces, and I asked them what they thought of the agreement. The response I got was Ukraine has nothing to lose. A lot has already been lost. Ukraine will go to the end. The only option here is either an adequate peace or it will be bloody for all of Europe.
Yeah. Well, we're certainly not done with this story. There will be more coming on this. Coming up in the second hour of Inside Sources, however, we're going to go in depth on a few things proposed by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and how Utah is involved, plus how the Trump administration wants to promote a new baby boom era. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shilaos. KSL's top story this hour. Some of the small dogs rescued from an Ogden home last week are now ready for adoption. KSL News Radio's Virl Johansson reports.
The Humane Society of Utah says the pups vary in age and are small mixed breeds. Ogden police say 156 dogs were found at an Ogden house in poor conditions last week. They were then taken to Weber County Animal Services, who then spread the dogs out to various groups like the Humane Society of Utah to help with vaccinations and have veterinarians check them out.
The Humane Society says anyone looking to adopt these dogs will need some extra patience, as the dogs may take longer to adjust to their new environment. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump is expected to sign more executive orders related to education today. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
Signing executive orders. There will be 7 executive orders by my count focused on education. Secretary Linda McMahon will be here in the Oval Office.
Leavitt wouldn't give any details on any trade deals between the U.S. and China and other countries as investors continue to worry about the impacts of the president's tariffs. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is up by 381 points at the close, nearly a full percent, sitting at 39,568. S&P up by 84. The NASDAQ up by 422 points, about 2.5%. Expect a little bit of wet weather. We'll check the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time, 2:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
You know how they always used to ask you in grade school, what do you want to be when you grow up? I bet I'm the only kid who ever stood proud and said, I want to be a rain gutter or siding installer. Jim Jr. here with RGS Exteriors, and man, I can still remember all those wannabe astronauts and quarterbacks looking at me like I was an idiot. Who would want to install rain gutters or siding? Somebody who was a 4th generation in business. That's who. My great-grandfather, T.R. Brown, started the company in the 50s. Then my grandfather took over from him, then my dad, Tim Sr., and now I've been at the helm since 2005. Every day I wake up and think, man, I'm living the dream. And now my own kids are starting to work in the business too. 5 generations. If you want gutters, siding, windows, or any exteriors on your home, and a company that really cares deep down to our souls, give RGS a call. 801-280-3110 or find us online, rgsutah.com. That's rgsutah.com. 801-280-3110, rgsutah.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
They told us nothing but lies.
These timeshare thieves out there are terrible.
They bullied us.
Our timeshare is all a scam.
They stole from us. They were thieves.
I was completely taken advantage of.
Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder and CEO of Wesley Financial Group, and I know the tough spot you're in. Are you asking yourself, why did I buy that timeshare? I'll tell you why, because that presentation wasn't a normal sales pitch. It was a show to convince you that timeshare is a great investment. They told you it was available today and today only. They said you're foolish if you don't buy, and unfortunately, you believed them. We get over 3,000 complaints a week from folks just like you that were misled into buying a timeshare. Give us a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free information kit. 800-838-2626. 800-838-2626. 800-838-2626.
For over 22 years, speaking on business on KSL News Radio has been a beloved tradition, celebrating our heroic business leaders and Utah consumers who have helped build one of the strongest state economies in the nation. Now, under the stewardship of the Salt Lake Chamber and hosted by Chamber President and CEO Derek Miller, the program continues to shine a spotlight on those who make Utah's business environment dynamic and thriving. With his expertise and passion, Derek brings the stories of our business community to life. As part of the Salt Lake Chamber, Speaking on Business is proud to continue its legacy of highlighting inspiring stories, trends, and special guests. Support Utah businesses now and be part of Utah's thriving economy. More information can be found at slchamber.com. That's slchamber.com.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account with built-in benefits. Ricky Meese, you have an emergency traffic situation on I-80.
On I-80, and it is looking like a mess. We've had a load spill with debris on the road, and it is affecting both directions of I-80. Not far from 2300 East. It's basically between 2300 East and Foothill. So if you're traveling eastbound, the backups are going to start a little after 1300 East, and you'll be put over to I-215's East Belt. If you're traveling westbound, no traffic getting through. They are going to have to take a while to take care of this mess on the freeway. So westbound I-80, this is just after Foothill. We have delays backing into Parley's Canyon up by the quarry. Murdoch Hyundai, home of 3.99% for 6 years on Santa Fe, Tucson, or Elantra. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our weather much less complicated than the traffic. We do have a 20% chance of showers today, increasing to a 40% chance tomorrow. Today's high 72 and down to 69 for a high tomorrow. Right now, 68 degrees downtown. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
One by one, we're going to get rid of every ingredient and additive in food that we can legally address.
8 petroleum-based food dyes are on their way out the door here in the United States following an announcement from Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Welcome back to the second hour of Inside Sources. I'm your host, Adam Gardner, here with Aaron Ryder.
Adam, I'm sorry. The sigh at the beginning of your comment there, I feel like sums up the entire show today.
I don't want to sigh. It's like my face will show how I'm feeling, but I guess the sigh does too. Here's what's really cool, Aaron. Notable in the announcement yesterday was the inclusion of Utah House Speaker Mike Schultz. Utah has been playing a role in the Make America Healthy Again campaign, and it looks like that influence could continue. I'm really I think this is awesome. Despite what you think about what the legislature has done on trying to make school lunches more healthy, taking dyes out of school lunches, taking fluoride out of water. There's a number of things the legislature did last session, excuse me.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a year ago, but it wasn't. It was like 2 months ago.
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
So the Utah House of Representatives, the Utah Senate, they've done a lot on this Make America Healthy Again topic. And a lot of lawmakers were in Washington, D.C. for this announcement. So just taking however you feel about RFK or HHS or the Trump administration, whatever, let's separate that. Utah is a leader in this space. And it's not like the federal government is doing this top-down approach where they're saying we are mandating that states do this. Utah said, we're doing this stuff. And the feds seem to come calling.
Well, RFK came to Utah because of the fluoride bill and because of the dyes in the school lunch bill that the legislature passed. And now he's taking that up. We've talked about this on the show before, but Utah's legislature is a national leader in policy making, and other states often look to Utah in how to go about enacting different policies, and that is having an effect going up to the federal government. And I do think that's very cool. Again, look at we'll talk about the substance of this, but I do think it's very cool that Utah is having such a significant influence nationally on the things that we're doing here locally.
I want to get into some of the things that he's banned, but first I want to recognize Utah House Speaker Mike Schultz was able to speak at the event, and to be honest with you, I love the way Representative Schultz speaks and conveys his message. He's very much like I grew up in Hooper, in Roy, in northern Utah. We work hard. We're common sense people, and so I just love the way that he communicates what the legislature has done.
While we're proud of the work we've done, we know that this fight isn't over. And it's not won in a single session or in a single bill or by a single state. It takes collaborative, sweeping approach to bring people together, local, state, and federal governments, all pulling in the same direction. That's why we're grateful for the growing partnership between the Utah legislature and the Department of Health and Human Services. It's the kind of collaboration that gets things done and moves the ball forward. We appreciate the support, and we really respect the leadership in this room, especially Secretary Kennedy, and we're excited to keep the ball moving and to keep things going. Let's make America healthy again, because our kids deserve better.
Now, Aaron, a number of years ago, Michelle Obama made her big issue making kids healthy.
Right.
So she said we want to get rid of artificial flavorings and dyes and things and have a more organic school lunch experience. She planted a garden at the White House and had kids come and learn how to use the garden and gardening techniques. Were Republicans very supportive of that initiative, and have they changed at all? I'm setting you up on that
You
question.
are setting me up. The answer to the first question is no, they were not supportive. The answer to the second question is yes, they have changed.
So we're now the party of Make America Healthy Again, which is RFK Jr. That's kind of been his thing, right? I mean,
that's what when he was running for president, that was like his whole platform.
Videos are surfacing of him doing chin-ups on Muscle Beach, and the guy's ripped, and it's really funny. They actually had a really funny photo after they won, and if you remember it, it's RFK Jr., Donald Trump Jr., and J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, and they're all eating McDonald's.
Right.
And everyone's super happy.
On a plane?
They're on a plane, and RFK is just looking miserable, like he hates that they're all doing this.
Well, because Donald Trump, our president, loves McDonald's.
Loves KFC, has a button in the White House for Diet Coke.
He does.
And so the most unhealthy dude since Taft.
Oh, but his physical said he was in the top physical shape of any person ever.
And that's true. He scores 18 holes in ones every time he plays golf.
Yes.
And so he's just tip-top shape. We all know that, and we all can see that very clearly on the television. And so I just the quote from Donald Trump Jr., which I thought was really funny, he said, "Make America healthy again starts tomorrow." Something, I think we've all said, like, diet starts Monday, diet starts tomorrow.
Resolution for
so I thought
country.
that was really funny. But they're actually doing stuff. And Republicans used to be against the federal government banning things. Like, if I want first of all, I hear this all the time, red dye is banned in Europe. And so we should ban it here too. And I'm like, if we banned everything Europe bans, my gosh, what would we have left? We wouldn't be America if we just followed Europe, But Red 40 is not banned in Europe. It just goes by a different name. The EU has not banned it. And so, they don't have anything called Red 40. And so you have all these different, like, why are we picking, I would love to know why we're picking green number 3, red number 40, yellow number 5, yellow number 6, blue number 1. The FDA has said that these are safe. The European Food and Drug Administration has said these are safe. So we now just have the FDA head and we have RFK Jr. saying, no, we determined that they are not. So do we now, Kennedy says, we have an understanding with food companies. What do you think that means? So this isn't an outright ban. This is an understanding that RFK has with the food companies?
Oh, right. Yeah. This plan is contingent on this understanding that the food companies are going to voluntarily remove these dyes to meet consumer demand. Here's my thing on it. And I already know that you're disagreeing with me, so that's fine. We can disagree on this. I feel like...
You don't know me. You don't... No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I feel like anyone who's listened to you this show knows where you are right now. Looking at where we've come with our food quality is, I think, an issue in the United States.
Right.
And some of that is policies that we have enacted coming out of the Great Depression, trying to sustain a growing population. And I don't know that has necessarily been for the best. So I don't mind the government trying to reverse some of those policies to increase food quality. I'm perfectly fine with that. Also because sometimes the food that is more quality food is more expensive. It's harder to access and it's harder to get to, and not every store carries it. So making that a little bit more equitable in access, I don't have a problem with.
I don't disagree with you. I think you're spot on. But I think it's the government that has got us into trouble every single time. So the food pyramid that we don't use anymore, that was totally wrong.
True. That's totally debunked.
And then we have to change.
Well, if they just rewind some of the policies that are already there and don't put new ones in place to replace it, I'm okay with that.
And my thing is just let people make their own decisions. You tell me what nutrition is out there, what's in what food, and I can make the right decision. But I was fat for a really long time, so maybe I didn't make the right decisions.
As long as you can access the food,
as
then
long
that's
as
fine.
you can access them. Well, I think we're on the same page as that. Coming up on Inside Sources, let's stick with the topic of health and discuss a controversial proposal from Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. involving a registry for people with autism. We'll be right back.
Paris RV is your toy hauler headquarters. We've loaded up the inventory and have over 300 new and used toy haulers in stock. And we've priced them at the lowest prices of the year. Not sure what you're looking for? No problem. Paris RV has 20 toy hauler brands to choose from, including bumper pool, fifth wheel, and travel trailers. We'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. Come in and take advantage of these amazing toy hauler deals. Stop by any of our 4 locations or shop online at parisrv.com.
It's Toy Hauler Month at Paris RV.
Take advantage of Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric's $99 or it's free mainline drain clearing special. That's right, $99 or it's free. Feel secure knowing the trusted professionals at Yes guarantee that if we can't clear it, you don't pay for it. Whether it's a small clog or a larger mainline sewer drain issue, the experienced technicians at Yes are ready to solve all of your drain problems. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill?
When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for.
Get it. It's time to spring into summer with Soda Weight Loss, because right now, you'll get our biggest discount of the year.
Are you serious? Yeah! Just 3 weeks in, and the pounds are dropping off very quickly. I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight. Without drugs, without hunger, and the weight stays off.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal. I was so proud of myself. My body did exactly what it wanted to do. I just gave it its tools.
Let's spring into summer right now with Soda Weight Loss. If you want to look like this for summer, now is the time to join America's #1 weight loss company for client satisfaction and results.
Remember, this is our best offer of the year, so let's go.
Get started now at SodaWeightLoss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Is your AC ready for summer? Don't wait for the heat to hit. Weak airflow? Warm air? Strange noises? These are warning signs your AC needs attention. Our skilled technicians offer AC repair services or replacements to keep your family cool all summer long. Don't sweat it. 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning has your back. Here to keep your home cool all summer. Visit onehour.com to schedule today. Financing options available.
People think saving money is hard, but really, it's easy. It's as simple as changing a few spending habits. For free tips on how to save the easy way, check out feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Adam, we have had a very lively show today, and we are not done yet. Another one of Secretary Kennedy's recent pushes has dealt with autism, finding the causes and supposed cures for autism. CBS News is reporting that the National Institutes of Health, a group within the Department of Health and Human Services, is also overseeing the launch of a registry to measure and track Americans with autism. Today, we wanted to focus our conversation on that part of the story.
I think, Aaron, before we kind of get into this,
okay,
I think we've broken the record for texts that have
we've gotten a lot of texts today
that have come in, and a lot of them I agree with, a lot of them I don't, and some of them are actually super funny. But someone said, I'd rather have him mess with food dyes.
Him meaning RFK.
Him meaning RFK. I'd rather have RFK mess with food dyes than to tell everybody not to get vaccinated, and don't get me started on autism. And so I thought that was kind of funny. We were talking during the break, like it's very interesting. We've been Republicans our whole lives.
We're both Republicans.
I've been an elected Republican official at the legislature.
I tried to be an elected Republican.
You've been the nominee for the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. I have served as an elected representative in the House as a Republican. I served in Salt Lake County as a Republican. And it's just, and RFK is a Democrat.
Right.
A notorious Democrat family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've, listeners, if you've ever heard of JFK. But a notorious Democrat family. And so it's kind of fun. It just go back to, I remember the Obama years. I worked in Congress during some of the Obama years. So I've just been following this and been involved for a really long time. And so it is kind of fun to just I remember when we didn't used to do this, and now all of a sudden we're supposed to be for it. We used to hate tariffs. Now we love tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
We used to hate Russia. Now we love Russia.
Mm-hmm.
We used to not like the government banning things. Now we love it. And so I guess like, so I don't want to say like we're trying to reestablish our Republican creds here, but it is, I'm trying to navigate this as like a Chamber of Commerce business Republican. And it's a different world. We're now very pro-union.
Mm-hmm.
We're very, so it's hard to navigate it as we go through this. So we're just kind of picking segments, stuff that's popping up in the news. When we're all for it, we go hardcore for it. Yes, this is a big conservative principle. We're so happy the Trump administration is doing this. And then when there's something that we're not so crazy about, we're going to call that out as well.
And today that happens to be the case with a lot of the things we're talking about. And especially, I mean, if we're right there with this autism registry right now. Adam, I just want to start out by saying I think this is the worst idea.
Well, tell me what it is
ever.
first.
So the idea here is to create a federal registry that would track Americans who have autism. So it's an autism registry. And the idea with this, RFK has talked about autism as an epidemic. He's talked about the rising number of diagnoses. He's talked about potentially trying to find a cure for autism. A lot of this is wrapped up in some of his thoughts on vaccines, et cetera. And so now he wants to create a registry to track what he said is the autism epidemic has now reached a scale unprecedented in human history because it affects the young. The risks and costs of this crisis are 1,000 times more threatening to our country than COVID-19. Autism is preventable, and it is unforgivable that we have not yet identified the underlying causes. We should have had these answers 20 years ago. So when we talk about the back and forth of Republican decision-making, we cannot handle the idea of a national gun registry. You and I were talking about this. No way we're going to have a national gun registry. Also, COVID-19, don't you dare tell me how I can handle my own medical decisions.
We want to track if you get the shot. We want to track if you're able to go into certain federal buildings based on your vaccination.
Yeah,
we
and
don't
as
like
a Republican, don't you tell me that.
Yeah.
No way, absolutely. You cannot base my employment on getting a COVID-19 vaccination, et cetera. But we have no problem taking the medical records of American citizens who have autism and putting them on a registry. And a lot of these American citizens, by the way, are kids. I just cannot understand why we would go this route in any way, shape, or form.
There's a lot of things that are good about this conversation about autism. It is crazy to find out that in 2000 you have 1 in 150 children who are diagnosed with autism, and today that's 1 in 30 kids that are diagnosed with autism. So something's going on. But what I've noticed, I did not pay attention to this when I didn't have kids. It wasn't a thought to me. Parents with kids that had severe autism, that are nonverbal, that is a big issue, and I want to find out what caused that. Then there are those that are my child is a 1 or is a 2 or a 3-year-old is having trouble speaking and is slow and can't concentrate, so maybe he has ADHD, so we're going to diagnose this kid with autism when you don't know my kid yet. Like we haven't seen that yet, and so are we diagnosing it more? Are we just saying, hey, the spectrum's just gotten longer?
Yeah, we can have those conversations. Maybe we understand autism more, and actually it is a lot more prevalent than we thought. Maybe there are underlying issues. Maybe there's a genetic component. There are all sorts of questions that I think are good to look into and good to research. I don't necessarily have a problem with that conversation, like you were saying. My issue is I am not about, I have friends with kids who have autism. I know people who are autistic. There is no way on the planet I'm supporting them having to turn their medical records over to the federal government under RFK Jr. to go on some sort of national registry. What are even the implications of that?
And what I'm picturing is, and it doesn't even have to be RFK. It's the next secretary. It's the next 5 secretaries. This is the next president. It's the next 5 presidents. I worry that we've seen the last 2 presidents sign executive orders for everything. And so that worries me that someone could say, any president or any secretary can say, you know what? We are now tracking 15 million children, and we have determined that because RFK, he said we are going to find the cure for autism by September, which I don't know how that's a thing.
Okay.
I don't know if that's how cures work. So let's say the cure for autism is not getting vaccinated. So I believe that vaccines are causing autism, and I don't want to get into that discussion right now, but what I'm saying is if he determines that on his own with his own people and then says, oh, you have 15 million people on this registry, you are no longer allowed to get vaccinated. I just don't like the fact that the federal government has that kind of power, has that kind of
absolutely
control.
not. Like, this is where, as a Republican, I'm saying, whoa, wait a minute. If you want to go do research on autism, invest the dollars, invest the time and the money to do the research, great. But mandating a registry that primarily right now is affecting children and would continue to affect children as more and more diagnoses come out, absolutely, like the implications again of that, like what are we going to decide when and where and how they can work, what education they can get, and suddenly we're making all sorts of decisions that their parents should be making. That is the most anti-Republican thing I've ever heard.
I don't know if this is I don't think this is where this discussion is going to end. I feel like we've had so many of these conversations over it hasn't even been 100 days yet that he's been in office.
Almost.
And so much is happening every single day. And every department head is coming out with something new and bigger and different. And sometimes that overreaches. And so this is not the end of this discussion. We're going to find out what the cure for autism is in September, according to RFK. And so
in September, according to RFK.
I don't know. I don't know. And you brought up a good comment when we were talking before the show started in preparation for the show, where you said, you know what, we've done that once before where we did it with the COVID vaccine, and look how Republicans react. Look how we reacted to that. At the beginning, liberals were like, I will never get a shot that was created by Donald Trump. There's no way. And then the shot came out, and then Joe Biden was president, and every liberal was like, everyone should get the shot. And then Republicans flipped. No, we're not getting the shot. And it's because we're making health decisions so political that I think might be the problem.
Yes, I agree with that. Next on Inside Sources, student loan bailouts are ending, and the Trump administration is going to start coming to collect once again. That conversation is coming up after the break.
Good afternoon, 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. KSL's top story. A memorial service and funeral will be held later this week for the South Jordan firefighter who died on duty. The city says there'll be a public viewing for Corbin Summers Friday and Saturday in West Valley City. After that, the procession comes on Saturday at noon as Summers is taken to Hunter High for the funeral. Governor Spencer Cox has ordered the flags to fly at half-staff on Saturday. Summers died on Monday in what the fire department calls a medical event. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. People from around the world are paying their respects to Pope Francis, who died earlier this week at the age of 88. His body now lying in state at the Vatican. And officials there say tens of thousands have already passed through.
There are still hundreds of people gathered here lining up to try and pay their respects to Pope Francis. We hear from the Vatican that they may extend the opening times to for people to pay their respects beyond midnight tonight because of the number of people coming here. And I think the atmosphere all day has been one of curiosity by people who are just here as tourists, but others who are deeply moved.
ABC's Patrick Reevell there at the Vatican. Your money at this moment. The Dow is up 380 points today. Coming up, there's a little bit of rain in the forecast. The KSL forecast is coming up next. Stay with us. KSL News Time 2:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Break your spring break routine and make your way into a unique balance of outdoor adventure and arts. In Cedar City and Bryan Head, you'll be greeted with stunning views combined with the most epic trails at Cedar Breaks or Three Peaks Recreation Area. Recreation enthusiasts, we're talking to you. Visit Parowan's Evil Water Bike Trails, Thor's Hammer, and Kolob Canyon to take the ride and hikes of your life. The trip wouldn't be complete without one of the scenic drives and byways in the region to experience breathtaking overlooks and magical views. That's not all. Cedar City is known as Festival City USA, hosting dozens of events including free music festivals, parades, farmers markets, and more. But make sure to spend a little time in their historic downtown, lined with quaint shops, eateries, and museums. So break away to the vibrant and welcoming communities of Bryan Head and Cedar City. Plan your visit today at cedarcity.com. That's cedarcity.com.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance. And you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
As a business owner looking to take your business to the next level, it's all about the right marketing. But what exactly is right for you? At KSL News Radio, we are ready to help you craft the perfect comprehensive strategy. Whether it's our powerful talent endorsements, engaging live interviews, creative production, live events, or our extensive digital platforms, we've got you covered with the right solution. Contact Stephanie Palmer today, spalmer@ksl.com, and let's grow your business together. Email spalmer@ksl.com.
Everyone needs a checking account, so get the one with built-in benefits to complement your unique lifestyle. Mountain America's My Style Checking has perks no one can pass up. You'll enjoy sizzling restaurant deals, peace of mind mobile phone protection, timely telehealth access, built-in identity protection, and clutch loan rate discounts. Make My Style your lifestyle at Mountain America Credit Union. Visit macu.com/mystyle. Insured by NCUA. Membership required based on eligibility. Some benefits require no cost registration or activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply.
Emergency traffic is brought to you by Mountain America's My Style Checking with built-in benefits. Here's Ricky Meese.
Huge delays westbound I-80 in Parley's Canyon down to the valley floor, and eastbound not doing too much better. This is all due to a load spill with debris on the road affecting both directions of I-80, not far from 2300 East. Now, eastbound travel on I-80 is open, so if you're trying to get to I-215's East Belt, there is a little bit of backup passing Foothill to I-215, but westbound is just a mess. Those delays will start well before the quarry and come down to the valley to 2300 East. Right now, westbound I-80 is still closed to traffic. You'll be forced off the freeway to I-215's belt route, but these delays are going to linger for a while until they are able to clear the road of this debris. The debris, by the way, was metal plates on the road, and that is what they're doing. They're going to need to bring in special equipment to get those lifted up off the freeway. So right now, you need to avoid westbound I-80. If you're coming from Summit County and know an alternate route, use it. You do not want to get stuck in these backups. And if you see something happening on the roads, text us on the KSL Mountain Home Services text line. It's time to try UTA. Less stress, no traffic, and more U-Time. Plan your trip at rideuta.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL forecast may be a shower tonight, then tomorrow showers and afternoon thunderstorms are possible. A high of 70, right now 69 degrees. I'm Jeff Kaplan from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. This is Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
The pandemic-era pause on student loan collections is ending, with the Trump administration saying they will restart collecting federal student loans on May 5th. The focus will initially be on those loans that are in default, which would affect more than 5 million borrowers. Student loans go into default after 270 days without payment. I 100% agree with the administration on this. 5 million people, their loans are in default?
Yeah.
In what world? Like, you should have received some sort of education that told you to pay back money that you borrow.
Yeah, you would think that student loan helped you, right? And look, I still have student loans, and I am paying on them right now. But I did that knowingly. I made a conscious decision to go get a degree that would require me to take out student loans, and I did it with the knowledge that that would help me get other jobs, and I could repay those loans. Yeah.
You
if
knew
you're
that
going
you
to take
knew
out
the risk,
a loan,
right?
Yeah, if you're going to take out a loan, you got to repay that loan.
The problem with the federal government guaranteeing student loans is I feel like there's so many people graduating that are saying, like, I had no idea that I wouldn't be able to pay back my, like, intro to philosophy degree payment. College has to be for a purpose, and that purpose is to go out into the world and make a living and contribute to society.
Yeah.
And you're not contributing to society when you're taking taxpayer money as a loan and not paying it back.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, when we talk about, we've talked about DOGE today, we've talked about all sorts of things relating to the federal government. This is an area where if, what? It's not the department. Is it the Department of Education?
Yes, it is.
Okay. This is like the one thing they're going to continue to do, right? Or whatever it is. Anyway, with these loans, let's talk about the cash that the federal government is like the balance sheet just for the student loan side of this. You got 5 million people who have not repaid their loans. And let's not even
talk about the repayment, but you had the Biden administration forgiving millions of borrowers and their student loans, just forgiving them for no reason. And we're like, these are the people that are getting PhDs and master's degrees, and I think it's admirable that you do that. But the federal government, meaning the taxpayers of the United States, should not be on the hook for those types of decisions. In fact, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, she really went into she really went hardcore on this. Now, granted, you could say the sky is blue and she'll go hardcore against you in a press conference and be really passionate. And so she is. But let's go through and hear from the press secretary on the Trump administration announcing the end to student loan bailout.
No student loan has been referred to collection since March of 2020. That comes to an end. On May 5th, the Department of Education will resume involuntary collections for borrowers with defaulted federal student loans.
Yeah. Well, and then she makes another point here, which I think kind of goes to what you and I were talking about.
The student loan portfolio controlled by the federal government is nearly $1.6 trillion, but fewer than 4 out of 10 borrowers are in repayment. This is unsustainable, unfair, and a huge liability for American taxpayers.
I absolutely agree with her. Fewer than 4 out of 10 borrowers are in repayment. Fewer than 4 out of 10.
That blows my mind.
That absolutely blows my mind. I would. There's been a lot of talk this year about higher education and kind of re-examining curriculum for higher education. I would love to see a mandated like financial planning course as a general education requirement at every university. I would love to see that.
These 5 million people that are in default, they know they need to pay it back. They get notices. They're just choosing not to because the Biden administration just let them. That was unacceptable. And I actually agree with Education Secretary Linda McMahon. She said in a statement, the Biden administration misled borrowers. The executive branch does not have the constitutional authority to wipe debt away, nor do the loan balances simply disappear. She is right.
Yeah, and the Supreme Court has said that. So that she's backed up by the Supreme Court.
So, plus, if it was a unilateral Biden decision to just forgive debt, it can be a unilateral decision to say, no, we're going to keep collecting on the agreement that you made. Now, what I will say is I saw Caroline Leavitt giving this speech from the podium, and I just got to thinking, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I don't have student loans. And then I was like, oh, wait, I'm married, and she has student loans, so I do have student loans. And so I went and talked to my wife, and we sat down and last night, and I said, hey, let's talk about your student loans. We haven't talked about those since COVID because there was a few months where you didn't have to pay.
Yeah.
They were all deferred. They got rid of interest for a while. So like we didn't pay for a while. And then my wife started to pay extra. She wanted to catch herself up. She goes, after I got a notice and it said, you now have to pay even more. She said, okay. And so she tried to pay double. And I said, let's try and just get this taken care of. Like, let's try and pay as much as we can every month and wipe away our student loans. So it got us to sit down and like kind of go through it. And we only had a couple grand left. And I said, let's just pay this off right now. Let's pay it off and be done so we don't even have to worry about this anymore. We've been married for 13 years. This is how long we've been paying on this stupid $9,000 loan. It's been the dumbest investment ever. We're still paying on it. But she's educated, and I'm very happy about that. So anyway, so we sat down and we paid it all off, and it felt so good. This last fall, I take a trip with some of my cousins and my brother. We go to a 49ers game somewhere in the country every year. And I was in the car. My cousin, who's older and smarter than me, he's a doctor, and he's something like 42. And he was on his phone. We said, "What are you texting during our conversation? What are you doing?" And he goes, "No, I just barely paid off my last student loan from medical school." And as a surgeon, he's 42 years old.
Yeah, that's great.
And so really cool. People are paying him off, but those that aren't, I really support the Trump administration in getting people to pay them back.
Well, and I just want to kind of reemphasize my financial literacy point. I went to Georgetown. I got a JD MBA. That's a very expensive degree, and I did it knowingly. But going into the legal profession, I was surprised at how many lawyers do not have a good financial sense about their own personal finances, right? And I think that is in part because a lot of people go straight through, right? They do undergrad, then they go to law school, and they just go straight through. I had worked before then, so I had the benefit of having saved. I knew what a 401k was. I
had the budget.
Right, I had a budget. I had a whole bunch of things that kind of helped me with that. But I do think there's something to that, because you do find even amongst the higher paying professions like attorneys, doctors, etc., that people are still living paycheck to paycheck. And when you are looking at a statistic like less than 4 out of 10 are in repayment,
the more money you make, the more money you spend. Yeah. So if you are making really good money, so I was addicted
you have to be really smart about
to Dave Ramsey for a long time,
Dave Ramsey's
his radio
great.
show, and I follow his like Instagram accounts, and so I love watching some of those videos, some of the callers that call in. But you're right, it's not all the time. It's not people calling in saying I make $30,000 a year and I'm really struggling. Some of these people, between them and their spouses, are saying I make $270,000 a year. We're $1 million in debt. Like, holy cow! It's time we just end these handouts and start making people pay them back. See, we are Republicans, right? In the final segment on today's Inside Sources, bonuses for new mothers and more research into IVF, things the Trump administration is doing to try and increase the declining birth rate. Let's discuss the proposals next.
In today's fast-paced economy, staying competitive means more than just experience. It means standing out with the right knowledge and skills. An MBA from BYU's top-ranked full-time or executive MBA program will give you that advantage. Whether you're looking to move up in your current career or pivot to something new, becoming a BYU MBA can give you the edge you need. You'll gain critical leadership skills, hands-on experience that will set you apart in today's rapidly evolving job market, and become part of an incomparable alumni network. The BYU MBA gives you a top-ranked education at the leading edge of business that's focused on principled leadership, all for an extraordinary value. Scholarship money is available to help you make your MBA goals a reality. Apply soon. Final application deadline is May 1st. Get ahead of the competition. Advance your skills and transform your career. Learn how you could become a BYU MBA. Visit mba.byu.edu.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account with built-in benefits. And westbound I-80 still a mess. You need to try to avoid it, especially if you're coming from Park City and Summit County into the valley. Right now, we do have delays that start just after Mountain Dale. So if you're traveling westbound I-80, it is a sea of brake lights in the lower portion of Parley's Canyon. And it's all due to debris on the road where they've had to close westbound to I-80 approaching 2300 East. Right now, we do not have an estimated time as to when it will reopen. Eastbound delays have cleared out because this debris did cross the barrier and both directions were affected, but right now it's westbound I-80 with huge delays backing into Parley's Canyon. Wasatch Front businesses and property managers. GoPave Utah provides all asphalt repairs for your parking. For patching and paving along the Wasatch Front, contact GoPave Utah. GoPave Utah, GoPaveUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Progressive knows when you're in your RV, you're already on vacation. That's when you become Vacation You, who just camped where there's absolutely no shade. Even though regular you burns easily. In fact, Vacation You burns too, but is too stubborn to admit it, which is why regular you gets in trouble at the dermatologist, because Vacation You doesn't do doctors. So bundle your RV with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Hey, it's Brian with Olson's Greenhouse. In today's busy world, your home should be your sanctuary. A peaceful retreat where you can unwind, breathe deeply, and recharge. And what better way to create that haven than with flowers? A pop of color in your flower beds, a cheerful container garden by the front door, or a lush patio filled with vibrant blooms can transform any space into a personal oasis. Flowers don't just brighten up your home, they lift your spirits too. Research even shows that surrounding yourself with plants can reduce stress and boost happiness. At Olson's Greenhouse, we grow premium quality plants that make it easy to bring beauty and joy into your life. Whether you prefer bold, eye-catching colors or soft, soothing pastels, we have the perfect flowers to complement your space. And with locally grown plants, you know they're ready to thrive. This spring, create a sanctuary of color and comfort with flowers from Olson's Greenhouse. Find us on Instagram at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens or go to OGG.com to find a retailer near you. That's OGG.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens.
For over 22 years, speaking on business on KSL News Radio has been a beloved tradition, celebrating our heroic business leaders and Utah consumers who have helped build one of the strongest state economies in the nation. Now, under the stewardship of the Salt Lake Chamber and hosted by Chamber President and CEO Derek Miller, the program continues to shine a spotlight on those who make Utah's business environment dynamic and thriving. With his expertise and passion, Derek brings the stories of our business community to life. As part of the Salt Lake Chamber, Speaking on Business is proud to continue its legacy of highlighting inspiring stories, trends, and special guests. Support Utah businesses now and be part of Utah's thriving economy. More information can be found at slchamber.com. That's slchamber.com.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
President Trump has vowed to be the quote-unquote fertilization president. I'm sorry, okay.
I didn't even sigh there.
I know, but you had a look. Anyway, he has said he's going to
That's what I voted for, Aaron. Fertilization.
Donald Trump has said he's going to tackle the U.S.'s declining birth rate. Now we're getting a better look at potential proposals for that, including a baby bonus for new mothers, research into infertility, and removing barriers to IVF treatments. Look, I just want to say, first of all, I appreciate the research into infertility and removing barriers to IVF. I think those are great moves, and I'm all for that. So let's talk about this new idea for a baby bonus. The White House is working on a list of incentives to create a new baby boom. Preparing a report on IVF. It's expected to make recommendations about making IVF more accessible. We're just going to take a quick listen to News Nation's Alicia Neves with more.
There's also going to be some other fertility issues expected to be front and center in that report. And this, of course, comes after President Trump declared himself the fertilization president, said that he is, quote, the father of IVF on the 2024 campaign trail. Now, that actual title belongs to two British doctors and a nurse who invented IVF. The White House publicly stating they want this baby boom.
Okay, so there we go. We have the fertilization president, the father of what was it?
IVF.
IVF. There you go. And so now what he's doing is he's talking about a proposal to give mothers bonuses when they have a child. So the bonus looks like a $5,000 cash bonus for mothers after they give birth.
So this is not uncommon with other countries in the world. So South Korea, for the first year of life, they pay you $750 a month, a parent, so they can subsidize having children. In Finland, some towns pay families up to 10,000 euros per child spread over 10 years. Russia, Italy, Greece, they all have experimented with lump sum payments or per child bonuses. Hungary exempt mothers of 4 or more children from personal income tax for life. They offer car subsidies. Population decline is a huge problem around the world. We are not exempt from it.
And Utah has had has had a pretty significant decline in birth rate over the last several years.
We have. Here's where the United States has a huge advantage. Immigration. We can't have our population decline, but as people want to come to the United States, we're still able to grow. Nobody's looking to get into Russia. And so they're having a huge problem where they're seeing this decline. That's why we're seeing them go steal kids from Ukraine and bring them back to Russia, where we have immigrants that want to come here. Not as many anymore, but that's been a huge reason why we haven't had this huge decline. There is an issue, though, with creating a totally new welfare program of $5,000 a month to socially engineer American citizens.
Yeah.
Because I hope that our financial literacy, we just got done having a segment on student loans. So back to your point about financial literacy, it is chilling to me that someone would say, let's make a 18-year investment where it's going to cost $700,000 to raise a child. But if you give me $5,000 up front, I'm willing to invest the other $695,000.
Well, this is my issue with the proposal. It doesn't actually address the underlying issues for why the birth rate is declining, right? We're looking at, just even anecdotally, right? You hear it all around you. It's expensive. It's expensive to live right now. Most people, you and I are both millennials. A lot of millennials are still not in their own homes, don't know how they're ever going to get into their own homes. And so the idea of how do I have a child? Gen Z is right behind us. They're looking at all of these same factors. People are nervous about bringing kids into the world at a tumultuous time. There are all sorts of factors. Most families nowadays, you're looking at two parents who are working. You're looking at a two-income household.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 2.
You have 2. Do your parents both work?
No. My mom stayed at home. My dad worked.
What did your dad do?
My dad,
I'm putting you on the spot.
I know.
Sorry.
Actually, it was pretty cool. He started his career at Martin Marietta working on the space shuttle and then moved into computer software and programming and did a bunch of stuff. Ended up with compliance software for the stock
great
market.
job.
Yeah, great.
Able to provide
job.
for his family of 4.
We were middle class, but we were just fine.
My dad, maybe that's why he's still a police officer, is because he had 6 kids. So I have 5 brothers and sisters, and I have a mom who didn't work. And it's pretty incredible that he was able to. We lived in a middle-class neighborhood, great house, everything we ever wanted. We didn't have crazy ambitions, but everything we ever wanted was provided for us by my dad's career as a police officer, having 6 kids and a wife who didn't work. That is not the case so much.
No, it's
nowadays.
just not realistic at this point. And so you're having all of these. And so that's where we're getting a lot of conversations right now about what about daycare? What about on-site childcare? Like, how do you incentivize parents? The model, the typical American model of, 2.5 kids or whatever it is, one parent works, one parent stays at home. I don't know that it's realistic anymore. And if it's not, then using incentives that incentivize that model are not going to land. They're just not going to work.
Mitt Romney, toward the end of his Senate tenure, came out with the Family Security Act. And it took a ton of welfare programs, which is interesting because he made some good points where if you file taxes and you get $2,000 back per kid, so everybody gets this child tax credit, right? Mm-hmm. $2,000 per kid. But if you have kids and you don't make enough money, then we expect you to go stand in line for a welfare check or to get TANF or to get WIC to provide for your kid. So he made the argument that if Republicans really are pro-life, which we are, if Republicans are pro-life, then we should provide that incentive for everybody. Let's get rid of these welfare programs that are costing us a ton of money, and let's just say to everyone, we are going to give you X amount of dollars per month. So it doesn't cost the government any extra money. It's not a new program because we're getting rid of so many. It's budget neutral. And if you are pregnant, having a kid at 6 months, we're going to start giving you $500 or $600 a month, $500 a month, so you can actually buy diapers. You can buy a crib. You can buy, and it'll go up. Pay for daycare, and it'll go up until you're X number of years old. And daycare is another one of those issues. It makes childcare very expensive when two parents have to work outside the home.
Yeah.
You're spending $25,000, $30,000 per kid per year. It gets extremely expensive. A $5,000 check is not going to cut it. And if we're trying to cut $155 billion or trillions from the national debt, a $5,000 check is not going to help.
Yeah, this is one of my frustrations with the Republican Party right now. Some of these issues, we narrow down the argument to such a finite point that we're missing a lot of the context that's creating the issue. And so, again, like you said, if we want to be pro-life, let's be pro-life, but let's look at the complexities around what it takes to be pro-life and address those complexities. Because without that, we're just going to fight over and over again, and we're going to throw stuff at the wall and hope something sticks, and it's not really going to do very much.
Look at members of Congress. There are plans going around that do something similar that don't add to the national debt. There are options out there that the president could use. Let's stop listening to this program and go to Congress to find a solution.
Yeah, stop listening to me and Adam. Go call your member of Congress, and let's go from there. All right. Well, this has been a very lively show today. Thank you very much, Adam Gardner, for your time. Thank you all for listening to Inside Sources. I will be back tomorrow with more political hot takes alongside Marty Carpenter. Hopefully we'll have another lively show. Next up, we're going to hand it over into the very lively hands of Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News. Have a great day.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. Right now in Salt Lake City, we're at 68 degrees. KSL's top story, breaking news just into KSL News Radio. Families will get to continue using the Utah Fits All Scholarship while it's being challenged to the state Supreme Court. KSL News Radio's Heather Peterson joining us live with more on what the court decided. Heather.
Jeff, a judge answered some of the questions about the future of Utah's school voucher program. Late last week, it was deemed unconstitutional by that district court, and that's now being appealed. Robin Bagley from the Utah Education Fits All told Utah's Noon News it's left a lot of families in limbo.
These families, like all Utah families, they're